Vicente, thanks. With us now from Capitol Hill, Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. He is a key supporter of immigration reform and a leading critic of the VA health system. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
If you heard Vicente's report, what should we be doing about those undocumented kids, which are increasing in size?
Yeah, it's an alarming story, and I think we need to one of the things we've been challenged with is what's our response. You know, we've had mass migration issues before, certainly in Florida. We've faced that a number of times with rafters from both Haiti and Cuba. And I know how difficult this can be on everyone involved. We're talking about children here, and in some instances, children with their mothers. So this is something we should approach first and foremost as a humanitarian issue, not simply an immigration one. There are some deep-rooted issues that are driving this. There are, for example, reports of some rumors circulating in some of these countries that if you are able to get here, you're going to be able to stay, and that's something we need to address with those governments. Border security in the long term will be important as well. But right now, immediately, we should be concerned about the humanitarian aspects of it. Having a large number of children crossing that border by traffickers is just going to be a magnet for all sorts of bad actors to try to take advantage of this. So I hope we can come up with a bipartisan plan to deal with this on an emergency basis.
When will we have that, number one? And number two, you got into some political pushback on immigration reform. When will we see thorough immigration reform?
Well, on the first end, I think we're struggling to find how to handle this situation because it's a very serious one involving children, the most vulnerable of all peoples. So my hope is that we'll be able to put a group together here to work on some answers. As far as the politics of immigration reform are concerned, it's the right thing to do for the country. I recognize that there is political resistance to that issue, but I also recognize that those of us who were sent here were not sent here to simply poll well. We were sent here to try to make a difference on an issue of extraordinary importance for our country. This is related to it, and somehow we have to focus on it in that way. But beyond it, I would say we have significant problems with our legal immigration system, where a number of countries are now coming here to recruit our most talented graduates away from us.
Senator, 47,000 children since October. They are in this country illegally. Should they be deported?
Well, I think that first of all, they should be treated humanely as possible in the situation as long as they are here. I think what we have to think about is, on the one hand, some of these children do have well-founded fears about returning home, and each of those should be analyzed on an individual basis. I do fear, however, that if you allow children to come here and remain legally, you're going to create a precedent, not for 47,000, but for 147,000. We have to be very careful about that because suddenly you have, unwittingly, in an effort to do the right thing or a good thing, unleashed a massive humanitarian crisis in the U.S.-Mexican border.
I want to turn now to the Benghazi story. In an interview last night, Hillary Clinton said she does not appreciate the politicizing of the Benghazi attacks. And when asked if it's one more reason for her not to run, here's what she said.
Is that another reason not to run?
No, actually,
just too much.
Actually, it's more of a reason to run because I do not believe our great country should be playing minor league ball. We ought to be in the majors. And I view this as really apart from, even a diversion from, the hard work that the Congress should be doing about the problems facing our country and the world.
Senator, is this minor league ball?
I don't think the issue of Benghazi is minor league ball. It is four Americans have lost their lives serving our country. We need to investigate it to understand what went wrong so that the people responsible for those decisions can be held accountable and so that we can put in place measures so that it never happens again. That, to me, is a very valid inquiry. The State Department had at its disposal a steady stream of reporting about how dangerous and how much danger that facility in Benghazi was in. It is a fact that they did not take sufficient security measures, and it is a fact that perhaps they shouldn't have even been there, and it is a fact that they did not have an extraction plan in place that was sufficient. Who made that decision, and is that method of operating still in place now? Because Americans serving in Tripoli, today in Libya, are in similar danger. And I think those are legitimate inquiries, and if she thinks that's not something we should focus on, then perhaps that gives you some insight as to why this happened in the first place.
Well, she has apologized because she said it happened on her watch. I mean, do you hold her personally responsible for the security failure that you cite?
Ultimately, this was a systemic breakdown of the State Department's security apparatus, and she ran the State Department. She should have known of the dangers that existed there. In fact, in a hearing we had here a year and a half ago, I asked her specifically about meetings she had with the Libyan government, in which she was made aware of the fact that many of these militias that were providing some of the perimeter security were unreliable and how dangerous Benghazi had become. The Brits had pulled out of Benghazi. The Red Cross had pulled out of Benghazi. The U.S. facility had already been previously targeted. So not only has she not been held responsible, no one has been held responsible. I believe 4 individuals were suspended with pay. All 4 have returned to work. Who made this decision not to have sufficient security? And are those types of decisions still being made? Those are valid inquiries, and she has to have some level of responsibility, because if she's going to brag about her time at the State Department, she also has to talk openly about their failures.
Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.